Today is October 14th, 2024. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life. This is Pro-Life Week. Well, just two things on the program today. Last week, I did mention that Right to Life in Michigan is encouraging pro-lifers to vote early. It's called March to the Polls, and the day they've picked or selected is October 26th, which is the first day the Michiganders can vote early in person. Obviously you can vote now by absentee ballot, but we're talking about in person. So we're not talking about going to your local school or church where you would normally vote in your precinct. But we're talking about voting in person in 4 different locations for Kalamazoo County. And these are the locations. Number 1, the county fairgrounds, the Kalamazoo County Expo Center, 2900 Lake Street in Kalamazoo. Number 2, the Portage Parks and Recreation Department at 320 Library Lane in Portage. The third location is the Fetzer Center at Western Michigan University. The address is 2251 Business Court, and the zip code there is 49008. And the last location is the Douglas Community Association, 1000 Patterson Street in Kalamazoo, 49007. So those are the 4 places. We're really encouraging people to vote early. Now, early voting, in-person early voting, begins on October 26th, and it ends on November 4th, which is the day before the Tuesday general election on November 5th. So please consider doing this. And there's a reason for this too, and that is, this digital age has changed so many ways that people conduct campaigns as well. Because if you vote early on October 26th, your name is, in a sense, taken off the rolls of like a master database because you've already voted. That information can be gleaned by a campaign like the Harris campaign or the Trump campaign, and they'll find out, oh gee, Rob Carr just voted at they may not know where I voted, but I'll probably vote at the fairgrounds. So they'll find out, oh, Rob Carr just voted. I don't have to visit his house and talk to him, or I don't have to drop off some campaign literature, or I don't have to do a get out the vote phone call. So that helps campaigns know this person no longer needs to be contacted. So it allows campaign workers to focus on the people who still have not voted. So that's one of the reasons that early voting can be beneficial to campaigns. Now, there's one disclaimer here, and that is Pavilion Township residents will not be able to vote early. When this was all set up, all the townships in the county needed to agree to be a part of this in-person early voting. And all the townships agreed to it except Pavilion. So you can still vote early in Pavilion Township, but you just can't vote in these locations. You can't vote at the fairgrounds. You can't vote at the Portage Parks and Recreation Building. You can't vote at the Fetzer Center, and you can't vote at the Douglas Community Center. But you can vote at the Pavilion Township Hall. And the address there is 7510 East Q Avenue in Scotts. The zip code is 49088. Between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. on the weekends, and between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. between Sunday, October 26th, and Sunday, November 3rd. So if you live, just be warned, if you live in Pavilion Township, you can only vote early, in-person early voting at your township hall on Q Avenue. Okay, the last item, it has to do with Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. And what I'm going to talk about, I'm sure many of you have already heard about this and were appalled as I was, but she got into trouble with faithful Christians, primarily Roman Catholics and Lutherans. What happened is she appeared in a short video with a TikTok podcaster named Liz Plank. I never heard of her before. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not a big social media follower. So there's a lot of names out there. I have absolutely no idea who they are. I only know some of the big names, but not Liz Plank. So in an effort to highlight the CHIPS Act, okay, now before I go any further, what is the CHIPS Act? Well, the CHIPS Act, a piece of legislation passed by Congress in 2022, it allocated $280 billion, that's billion with a B, to research and manufacture semiconductors in order to compete with China and Taiwan. And I don't have a problem with wanting to have more manufacturers in America produce semiconductors. So I have no problem with that. But in this video, to highlight the CHIPS Act, Gretchen Whitmer has a Doritos chip. There's the chip angle. She has this Dorito chip in her hand. Liz Plank is on her knees, and she looks up, and Gretchen Whitmer gives her a chip. And as she leans down to give her a chip, Liz Plank sticks out her tongue, and Whitmer places the chip on her tongue. Now, it doesn't take a theologian to see the symbolism in a kneeling person sticking out their tongue and receiving something on the tongue. Obviously, we're talking about Holy Communion, one of the most important sacraments in the Christian church. And a lot of Catholics and Lutherans, a lot of people were appalled that Whitmer and this Plank lady would denigrate the Eucharist or the sacrament of communion in such a derogatory way. And you know, with all the fallout from this, Whitmer apologized to the Catholic Church. I think she contacted the Michigan Catholic Conference and said, you know, I had no idea that I was offending anybody. We were only trying to talk about the CHIPS Act. You know, man, I have a hard time accepting that kind of an argument. I mean, I don't think she's a Catholic, but she has to have known that a kneeling person receiving something on the tongue is representative of communion. I mean, you don't have to be a Roman Catholic priest or an observant Catholic to know that. So I don't really buy her apology. I'm glad she apologized. I am. But it's tragic that this is not the first time that she and or the Democratic Party or liberals in general have made fun of the Catholics. I mean, I think back to the Olympics, where the Olympic athletes were going down the Seine River in Paris, which was fine, but there was this one scene where it showed people on the shoreline, and it looked like there were some drag queens and some people in weird outfits, and it looked like the Oh, good grief! Now, is it Michelangelo or is it Da Vinci? The Last Supper. I think it's Da Vinci. The Last Supper, the painting that's on that church wall in Italy. There was this long table, and all these people are arranged along the Seine River, and in drag queen outfits, and it was just so derogatory and crude. But somehow the Paris Olympic organizers had no problem with that. How can that be? But they got away with it, and the NBC network that was covering the Olympics, they didn't make a big deal out of it either, because to them that's not offensive. So going back to Whitmer, it was offensive. She was wrong. Liz Plank was wrong. You can talk about the CHIPS Act without denigrating Holy Communion. Okay, so vote early, October 26th. Vote for your pro-life candidates that we talked about last time. Vote. They need your vote. With that, I'll let you go, and I'll see you next time.